Hello everyone, welcome back to the best place for the best takes. I'm Benjamin Cure. This is the Benjamin Cure Show. Welcome back everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend. I certainly did. There were so many sporting events that you could have watched, could have tuned into, and I know I say it at the start of every show, but this weekend really felt like it. It was flooded with sporting action. So many different events, a really diverse lineup. The F1 Miami Grand Prix, all those NBA playoff games. In the combat sports world, we had UFC 288, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. Cejudo returning to the ring for the first time in a while. What an event that was. Certainly a closer fight than I thought it would be, but Sterling did win. I did predict that, and so happy for him. And, Cejudo, I wonder where he goes from here. I saw he was calling out Conor McGregor in his post-fight press conference. I don't think that is in his future. I don't think that's Conor's next bout, certainly. And so, interesting to see where he goes from there. Also, Canelo Alvarez in Mexico. What an event. What a spectacle. I mean, what a time to be alive. Some awesome events, very cool stuff to watch. We also had some really good news over this weekend in sports. I saw that Justin Fields received his college diploma, the current quarterback for the Chicago Bears. I saw that former NBA star Ray Allen received his diploma, so credit to both guys. Clearly, I mean, it's obvious, neither man needs their diploma. They've achieved so much financially and in the business world already, but it's a nice memento, and I should have probably looked into this before the show, but I don't know if either man is a first-generation college graduate, but that's also something really special that you hear that story from a lot of these guys, a lot of these athletes, and they want to go back just to say they finished, and so props to them. Takes a lot of commitment to get through school. I'm in the middle of that thing right now, and I can't imagine what it's like to be an athlete or a student athlete while juggling school or being a professional athlete and balancing school. So credit to both men. That's an awesome, awesome token, and it really shows their level of commitment to whatever they put their mind to. I also saw, to kind of open up the weekend, it happened on Thursday, but it was all the talk over the weekend. Pat McAfee, his wife Sam, gave birth to their first child, Mackenzie Lynn McAfee, over the weekend. Very happy for both of them. I mean, they've kind of been very open about their journey, and it was very heartwarming, very wholesome to see. They've posted pictures of the baby already. Some fun moments that they posted on Twitter, feeding the baby. Mackenzie's already holding her own bottle, so a lot of fun stuff going on for them. If Pat's journey into fatherhood is anything like his journey into the NFL as a punter or his journey into sports media, he is going to absolutely crush it. So very happy for him. So many stories that I could go on and on and on about that happened over the weekend, but we can't address it all. We have to limit it to the biggest story. So let's get started with the biggest brand in basketball, the LA Lakers, who over the weekend put on a dominant performance. They took Game 3 over the Golden State Warriors in the second round of the NBA playoffs. And, all the talk before Game 3 over the weekend was the importance of Game 3. And for hardcore basketball fans or even casual fans, you probably don't know the stat that is thrown around everywhere, which is 70% of the teams that win Game 3 go on to win the entire series. And so Game 3 is a very important game. And while every game is invaluable in an NBA playoff series, Game 3 mathematically, for whatever reason, seems to be the real important one. So LeBron James, AD, that whole Lakers team came out guns blazing, and they put on the performance of a lifetime. It wasn't even close. Midway through the third quarter, you knew the Lakers are going to win this one, and it ain't going to be close. So that was a really dominant performance from them. And I found it to be really interesting because, Game 1, the Lakers won a game that was really close. And truthfully, that last shot from Jordan Poole, a lot of people had a problem with it. I personally did in the moment. But now thinking back, could he have made a better decision? Of course he could have. But, Jordan Poole, there's a reason that before the season started, he signed a $100+ million contract. Let's not act like he didn't justify that, like the team didn't want him back, like fans weren't begging for it. Jordan Poole last year came onto the mainstream radar because he was crowned the baby Steph Curry. Because he wasn't quite as good as Stephen Curry is or quite as lethal. He didn't have that whole package, but he did show glimpses of, those are some really long daggers. Those are some big-time three-point shots. He's got a little bit of that moxie, that swagger. We've seen the clips. Very funny guy to watch when he's in his element. Very fun to watch. And so he maybe a lot of fans feel that he hasn't justified that contract quite yet, but if you're being honest, what the Warriors need him to be right now is simply a role player. And that's what he is at this stage in his career. Could he become more than that? Possibly. He's still very young. But right now, they need him to be a role player, and that's what he's doing. Maybe not to the level that most people would like, but, he's chugging away. He's getting better as time goes on. And so game one really came down to that shot, and it could have gone either way. I mean, on pretty much any other night, I think Jordan Poole has a shot of making that shot from that distance. We've seen him sink 30, 35-foot shots. That's what made him so, I don't want to say famous, but that's what really brought him to the forefront of NBA TV and, all those memes and all the media coverage. I mean, that's how we found out about Jordan Poole, was there's those really risky shots that he would take that were from a long distance away that it really felt Steph Curry-like. And having them on the same team, playing for the same squad, it felt very reminiscent of him. That's why he's gotten all this attention. But in game two, Steve Kerr made some excellent adjustments, and he really told Darvin Ham of the Lakers, hey, it's your move. And to Darvin Ham's credit, Darvin Ham made some excellent adjustments in game three. He really saw the return of AD. AD looked a lot better, which we know, Stephen A has been talking about this a lot. Games 1 and 3 and 5, the odd-numbered games. AD has been excellent in this playoff series. It's those in-between games, those even-numbered games, games 2, game 4, game 6, where AD, kind of gets lost in the mix of it all. And so it's been very interesting to watch that play out. But game 3, it was a real coming out party for the Lakers at home in front of all those big-time stars. They made it known, this is our arena and this is our series. So I do have a feeling, this is not a hot take. You can see it if you're watching the games. This is going to go all 7. 6 games, 7 games. This is not going to be one where either team now goes on a hot streak and wins the rest of the games. Each team is too talented. Each team is too motivated. Each team is just too stacked and very top-heavy. I mean, AD, LeBron, Steph Curry, and then on any given night, if Draymond's rolling, if Jordan Poole is rolling, if Klay Thompson happens to be rolling, who Klay has had a pretty good series. He's had great moments, but he can't seem to continue it. Sometimes he gets a little cold from beyond the arc, and that's a problem for them because they're losing out on valuable possessions when he shoots and he does miss. But he's had some great moments. Would like to see him rally those and string those together a little bit better with less awkward gaps in between. And of course, that's something the Warriors will look to address before Game 4 tonight. But I really do think that a lot of credit goes to Darvin Ham, because talk about a team that was really just had no identity this year, especially to start it. We talked about them in such a poor light on this show. I talked about how the team just didn't have it. They weren't constructed very well, very odd build, very pieces that didn't fit quite well together. And that's what the Lakers were before that Russell Westbrook trade. And I've talked about it. That really saved their season. And the credit goes to Darvin Ham and to Rob Pelinka, who, I didn't talk bad about Rob Pelinka, but I was certainly critical of him on the show. And now that I think back on it, I talked about on this show the reports that the Lakers were not willing to move their first-round picks now in order to help LeBron now. They weren't willing to sacrifice their future for the present. And I was really critical of those reports. And I thought, it reflected really poorly on Rob Pelinka and on the Lakers' ownership. And it made me think, do they really know what they're doing? And now that I look back, I wonder, were the Lakers floating those leaks out there just to make it seem to other teams like, hey, there's no chance we're moving off our first-round picks. We're not willing to. So if we engage in trade talks with you, don't bother to ask for them. And to their credit, if that was their approach, it worked out very well. And it just shows you that the reason I talked about the Lakers so much on this show, in spite of the difficulties and all the challenges they faced this year and their worst moments, this is a team that, with LeBron James, with a healthy AD, we all knew it could really be something. Now, did I expect AD to go in a stretch where he has not been injured and absolutely torch the league in terms of points and overall impact on the game? No, I did not. You can watch the other shows. I certainly did not think that AD was going to be the cornerstone of the Lakers' success. I thought availability is king, and I didn't see him having that kind of availability in the playoffs. He has. He's been really dominant. Now, I'm not going to fall back on my comments quite yet. I still do believe AD is a very injury-riddled player, and you don't go from young and hurt to old and healthy. That doesn't work like that. And so I still have my concerns about AD. Game 4, an even-numbered game. Will his impact be as great as it was in Game 3? Probably not. You're going to see him. You're going to see less minutes from him and less of an output from him. Less of an impact on the game is what I could think you can expect from him. And all credit in this series, if it has shown us anything, credit to Rob Pelinka, credit to Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham gave this team Darvin Ham created a defensive-minded mindset. That doesn't really make sense, but you get what I'm trying to say. He really imposed a mentality of toughness, and he wanted the culture of the team to be toughness and defense first and putting in effort. And we know prior to the season, when we talked about the meeting that got leaked between Darvin Ham, Rob Pelinka, and LeBron James, amongst others, they wanted, number one, this team to go through AD on the offensive side of the floor. And they wanted the team to be all in and to buy in on the defensive side of the floor and to really show more effort than they had in previous years. And credit to Darvin Ham, he gave the Lakers an identity when they needed it most. A tough defense-first mindset that is really reflected in the roster and is why they've been so successful against the Warriors team that is so trigger-happy shooting from beyond the arc. They don't get to go to the free throw line as often because they're not getting fouled on those beyond the arc shots. They're not driving to the paint, and they've just been excellent at mitigating the risk of Steph Curry. I mean, look at Game 2. In Game 2, Steph Curry had a really LeBron-like performance where he was dishing the ball out. He would drive. He would try to get some of the guys. He would try to get some of the defenders closer to him, and he would then dish out the ball, and then he was giving other guys great looks. So is Steph an excellent shot creator and shot maker? Of course, but he really did have a LeBron-esque game in Game 2 with those 12 assists, dishing the ball out, making sure other guys on the team could get open, get good looks, and make baskets for them. That kind of diversified their attack and made them look really unbeatable in Game 2. But then in Game 3, I mean, credit to Darvin Ham once again and to AD putting his hands up, really making sure we're not going to give Steph Curry the ability to distribute this ball as well as he had previously. If they're going to score points, it's going to be because of him. And Steph didn't have a bad performance, but he didn't have one of these marquee 30, 40, 50-point games that's like, it's in the high 30s at least, where everyone knows, oh my gosh, Steph is having one of those nights. They prevented him from having one of those nights, and then they also took his ability away to distribute the basketball, which is therefore limiting the overall output from everyone else. The Lakers have shown really good signs in this playoff series. They did in the last series. We didn't talk about it as much because Dillon Brooks was a conversation then. Now it's really clear when you're watching these games and you sit down on your couch and you're locked in, the Lakers have something really special with Darvin Ham, with Rob Pelinka. I mean, Rob Pelinka, credit to him. The reason I keep on saying credit to him, he brought in Hachimura. He brought in D'Angelo Russell. And D'Angelo Russell has had such an excellent impact on this team. He has put up points when they need them most, and he's been super efficient. I mean, he started Game 3 on an absolute heater. I believe he scored, if I'm not mistaken, the first 11 points for the Lakers. He has been an invaluable resource coming off the bench for the Lakers, and he's been a real showstopper for them. Very efficient, which matters in the postseason, which is why I didn't like the Lakers team when it was led by Russell Westbrook on the starting lineup. This is a Lakers team that I can really get behind, and as long as AD stays healthy, which I still do have my reservations about, this team can certainly make a run to the Western Conference Finals and maybe even the NBA Finals. We will see. Game 4 tonight should be very exciting in LA. I can't wait to see what happens. As exciting as Game 3 was between the Warriors and the Lakers, the biggest storyline that night, and the question that LeBron James was actually asked after the game, was in reference to his own son, Bronny James, because earlier in the day, Bronny James committed to USC, and if you were in tune with the recruiting conversation surrounding Bronny, you knew Ohio State was the most talked about, USC was at the top of the board, and Miami, maybe it's just because I'm from here, Miami was kind of in the mix because of the NIL valuation and what boosters could do for him, but in the end, Bronny made the right choice, and I'll talk about that in a second. And let's be honest here, and this is not a knock on Bronny, it's just I have to acknowledge the obvious here. Bronny does not have to make decisions that are solely because of financial reasons. He does have the benefit of being LeBron James' son, and that actually might help him in an era where so much of college basketball and college ball and college football is dominated by who has the most money, who can give me the biggest bag. Bronny James doesn't have to worry about that. And because of that, it'll benefit him because he can really choose what is the best decision for me regardless of money. And that'll help him in the future. And so he made the right call. And a lot of people were surprised that he didn't go to Ohio State. Ohio State wasn't a great fit. I mean, I know LeBron James was the kid from Akron. He was born and raised. He gave Cleveland their title. And there's so much history there and so much, almost like a family-like bond. But it wasn't a real fit. I know Bronny James was even born in Cleveland, which is something people don't talk a lot about. Bronny James was born in Cleveland, Ohio. It just doesn't seem like the right fit. LeBron is playing for the Lakers. He's in L.A. He's moved there full time. His mom, Bronny's mom, LeBron's wife, Savannah, also lives there. Their entire family is based out of L.A. There's no reason for Bronny to go back to Ohio State. Great culture, would have been really fun to watch, but that to me would have been symbolizing Bronny is trying to live up to this reputation and this legend and this aura of his father, and we've seen him make countless decisions already where he's not doing that. Sure, he does the Nike commercials. Sure, he's had those NIL spoofs and moments that we've seen the previews of. I saw a Fast and Furious commercial involving Bronny too, but there are certain things where you can tell Bronny's going to want to separate himself from his dad. So not choosing to go to Ohio State, choosing to go to USC was the best decision for him there. Now, in terms of USC, people are questioning the decision. I think it's very obvious. USC is a proven track record of being able to build up stars. And in an era with NIL and where athletes, even without NIL, are marketed so heavily, I think it's the best decision for LeBron James' son. I think Bronny knows I can build a massive brand. I can stay close to home. I can stay close to what I feel comfortable with and what's familiar to me while building up the biggest possible brand. USC is absolutely rocking right now. The campus feels back. You hear from so many students how exciting the environment is because of football, because of Caleb Williams. I actually saw Caleb Williams comment on Bronny's commitment post. I mean, it's a very exciting time to be a University of Southern California kid and to be going on that campus and to experience what it is to be a USC Trojan. Bronny's going to benefit from that brand immensely. He's going to play alongside Isaiah Collier, who was the top guard in his class. It was a great decision. He'll be able to play alongside some great players. He'll be able to develop his game, and he'll build his stardom before eventually, what we believe to be the case, is going to join his father in the NBA. And I know LeBron James himself probably knows and feels that they can't come soon enough. And so LeBron James' son, Bronny, going to USC, it's probably the best decision for him. Build the biggest brand possible. Let's blow up your stardom before you head over to the NBA. It was the right decision. I didn't like the G League talk. I didn't think Ohio State was realistic. Certainly not Miami. USC was the best fit for Bronny James. So I know it's still the offseason, but because of OTAs and the voluntary workouts and training camp, which will be upon us sooner than you think, the NFL world has plenty of stories circulating after the draft. And one of the biggest ones over the weekend had to do with quarterback Justin Fields. Bears quarterback Justin Fields has improved this offseason and made, quote, really big strides, end quote, as a passer per the team. So Matt Eberflus was quoted saying, in terms of quick pass, drop back pass, movement passes, that was the end of the quote, but you can tell Matt Eberflus thinks that Justin Fields is getting better in the passing game. And that's really important because earlier in the football offseason, I talked about it on this show. Justin Fields is on pace for a massive year 3 breakout, and that's important to know. And I know a lot of people may not see it, but there's precedent here. Justin Fields now has a true wide receiver 1 in DJ Moore. His team made an investment in Justin Fields by trading for him. And I know it took a lot in terms of picks, but they got a really awesome guy in DJ Moore who can be that all reliable wide receiver 1 for Justin. And he hasn't had a talent like that on the outside yet. So this is new for him in the NFL. It's his best weapon yet. And so when it comes to the importance of that, I think you need to know Justin Fields is capable of doing great things. And he's had moments where I have doubt. There have been moments where I have doubt about his performances. And I think to myself, is there anything beyond the hyper-athletic quarterback that is Justin Fields? And I think, we need to be patient here. We live in a vacuum culture where everything needs to come so quickly at us, and we want instant gratification, and we want players to pop off the next day after they're drafted. That's not the case, especially at the most important and most complex position in the NFL, the quarterback position. And like I've said, I would not be shocked if, especially after hearing these reports, after knowing that a trade went down for DJ Moore, if we see Justin Fields really start to come out of his shell this year and become the passer that we thought we could see when he was first drafted. Was he capable of great things? You might finally see the inklings of that this year. And I think it's really important to know that Justin Fields, he does rely on his hyper-athletic abilities. And other quarterbacks who don't have that, who are as young as him, would have looked even worse. He does have a little bit of a scapegoat because he can do things on his legs that other quarterbacks simply can't do. And so with the combination of what he can do with his legs, enhancing the passing game, year 3 can be a really special year for Justin Fields. And these reports coming from the team, coming from Matt Eberflus, coming from some anonymous coaches and sources in the building tell you Justin Fields is on pace. He's looking better. And the Bears are a team to look out for within their own division, which seems like it's very up in the air. Detroit just drafted a quarterback. Jared Goff is good in a dome. I really like him. But they've also lost, I believe they lost a receiver because of that whole gambling thing that went down about 2 weeks ago. What are they going to look like? What are the Jordan Love Packers going to look like? It's a new era. Will he be as good as we saw when he hit the field during that one game? Will there be flashes of that? Will he be bad? What's it going to look like? This is a division that this year, I think all these teams are really waiting, and they're on their hands and knees waiting to see, hey, what are these other teams going to do? What are they going to look like? Because when you see the picture of how this division shapes out, you'll know going forward, okay, this team is going to have a hold on this division, or maybe it'll be a toss-up. Maybe Jordan Love ends up doing well. Maybe Kirk Cousins finally gets the team over the hump with another wide receiver in Jordan Addison. Maybe the Detroit Lions are going to be there for a long time with Jared Goff at the helm, with Hendon Hooker in the back, just waiting on him, with a great tough culture in Dan Campbell. Or maybe this is a team in the Chicago Bears that is finally starting to get it right. A second-year offensive coordinator, a new wide receiver one for their young developing quarterback, and a much better, much more refined starting QB1 in Justin Fields. It's going to be a very exciting season. I can't wait to see how it shapes out. But these early reports indicate Justin Fields is someone to look out for going into the 2023 season. So the Ravens have something to be excited about. If you've been watching the videos on social media, you've seen those workouts coming out of Zay Flowers. And like I said, very exciting time for the Baltimore Ravens. They've got Lamar Jackson for years to come. He signed the contract to become the highest paid player in NFL history. They have Odell Beckham Jr. for 1 year on a $15 million guaranteed contract. And now they have Zay Flowers. And I think that's really important because what is something that Lamar Jackson has always complained about throughout the woes with the Baltimore Ravens, and something which they've acknowledged, the lack of weapons. He feels like he hasn't been given the right stuff to work with, the right equipment, the right guys in order to succeed. We know that quarterbacks, especially when they're young and developing, they need other great players at the wide receiver position to elevate their game. That's what Zay Flowers allows Lamar Jackson to do. And I know Lamar Jackson's no spring chicken. He's been in the league for a minute, but he is still a young guy who, because of injuries, is developing and still has some room to grow. And I think it's safe to say Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be treated by defenses as a wide receiver one. And that's going to mean he's in really tight situations, tight coverage, double coverage. They're not going to allow, I'm talking about the opposing defenses. Opposing defenses will not allow Lamar Jackson to get easy completions to Odell Beckham Jr. And that's assuming that Odell is healthy, which, in my opinion, Odell Beckham Jr. is not going to play a full 18-week regular season, 17 regular season games. He's not. He's been nicked up everywhere he's been. He's getting older. And that's not a knock on him, but he is not going to play a full season, meaning there are going to be opportunities for Zay Flowers. And when you look at the tape and the early videos of Zay Flowers in his workouts, he is something to be excited about. Very fast, very shifty, very agile guy. He embodies some of the best characteristics about Hollywood Brown and why Hollywood Brown's relationship with Lamar Jackson was so good and why they worked out so well for the short amount of time that they did. So Zay Flowers is going to have the opportunity, if Odell Beckham Jr. is on the field as a wide receiver one, he's going to be in better scenarios. He's not going to be as tightly covered, and he's going to have more room to work with, more room to grow, and that's going to be a great security blanket, a safety blanket for Lamar Jackson, which I'm sure Lamar will tap into a lot throughout the course of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Zay Flowers have over 900 or even 1,000 receiving yards in just his first year. He looks to be that kind of a player, and he looks like he's going to have that early impact because he's so talented. The tape shows you that. These workouts show you that. He is going to be a very versatile weapon for the Baltimore Ravens. I see him kind of as their Swiss Army knife, and whether Odell Beckham Jr. is on the field or not, he's going to have a lot of room and many opportunities to succeed in just his first year. He is certainly someone to look at in terms of the Baltimore Ravens and what their success could look like in 2023. With that being said, we conclude this week's episode of the Benjamin Curious Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. From the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate it. There's so many choices out there for sports talk, so little time in the day. So I appreciate you making this your home for sports talk. Until next time, I'm Benjamin Cure. This is the Benjamin Cure Show.